Hello, it is the Friday after I had the diagnosis of my pulmonary embolisms, the blood clots in my lungs. So coming up for a week. And I've been doing these lying joint movement sequences every day. A while ago, somebody asked me if I would film the lying one and talk it through. So that's what I'm going to do today. This one with lots of instructions, lots of um, variations, and using just ordinary pillows and a cushion for my head. So I'm going to lie down, take my comfy slippers and throw socks off. But you can keep your socks on, that's absolutely fine. And get yourself lying down comfortably. So I've already set myself up with this now. I've got three kind of soft cushions from home. Most usually I would use one of the bolsters because I've got tons of them. This is my yoga studio and they are perfect for this. But because I'm demonstrating household things, good. Now I know that at the moment I'm comfortable with a cushion under my head, but when you lie down, have a cushion. If you haven't done this before and you're not set up, have a cushion at first. Oh, my toes are in the sunshine. How nice. Um, and then have an experiment with it to see whether that is something that you want. Okay. And then settle, check how your back feels with the support under your knees. If it feels like this is about the right height. I'm still, I don't know if you heard my voice almost disappeared then. So, I've got a lot of breathlessness still. And I'm a bit excited about doing the recording. And I've been messing around with where to put the computer and so on. So I just need to calm down a little bit even before I begin. So you take some time to make sure that you are well settled. And notice how everything is feeling. I've got the yoga mat under me today. That's completely unnecessary. You do want to be comfortable though, and you could do this on a sofa or a bed just as easily as the floor. If you are on a floor, make sure you've got enough padding under you for comfort for your joints, but also for warmth. Noticing if you feel very busy, like I do at the moment, have quite buzzing feeling in the head, or if you feel already more calm. Notice how the body's feeling. I'm resting with my hands on the abdomen, which is often a really nice way to help with relaxation and a feeling of connection. But equally, the hands could be on the floor, wherever is most comfortable for you in this moment. Okay, and then we'll begin. Bring your attention all the way down to the toes of the right foot. Bring your attention into those toes. What can you feel in this moment? And then what we're going to do is stretch and curl the toes of the right foot, moving with the breath. So I would breathe in, stretching the toes, and breathe out, curling them. The heel could stay on the ground like this, or keeping the leg resting on your bolster or cushions or pillows. You can lift the leg off the floor as you stretch and curl. Breathing in, stretching, breathing out, curling. And more or less pushing, as far as you possibly can, or You can do it more gently. I'm going to bring that foot down now. So I'm not going to be counting, unfortunately, in this sequence, but if you can balance from side to side, that's always great. And each time you come back down, maybe take a few moments to see what, if any, the effect of that little movement has been. Then we'll come to the left toes, breathing in and stretching, breathing out and curling. Pretty much leaving the ankle still. If you're wearing socks, you get to feel the push of the toes against the socks as you stretch them, and there's some movement inside the sock as you curl. If you're not, you can see how much air you can feel between your toes as you stretch. Then bring the foot back down now. And each time you come back down to the ground, notice what other muscles, all the muscles that activated, all the activity that came into, that sort of jumped into being as you lifted the foot or as you stretched the toes. And then let the body be supported by your props and by the floor again. Back to the right. Again, the heel could stay on the ground. We're going to move back and forward at the ankle. Could stay on the ground, but I always like, personally, I like lifting the foot here. And I'm breathing in, taking the toes away. Breathing out, bringing them towards me. Again, I'm making this movement quite big. If you could make it smaller, whatever works for you. And for lots of these movements, I'll suggest breathe in this way, breathe out that way. But in fact, it absolutely doesn't matter. And it's even quite interesting to do it the other way every now and then. And bring this foot down there. Oh, see how it feels to be resting again. Back to the left. So this sequence, it's suggested, that this is all about the ankle. And I'm sure you'll be able to feel that there are lots of other parts of the body being affected by this. And one of the main things that is affected by these first few movements in the sequence are the muscles of the calves. And using the muscles of the calves is very, very useful for circulation. We know from instructions for long flights to keep the ankles moving in order to move the calves. And so for me, with my recovery from the blood clots in my lungs, then moving giving a feeling that I'm helping myself by doing this tiny thing, this beautiful small thing, to work on my circulation a little bit, very gently. It just feels so good, both physically and psychologically. So I'm coming back to the right now. We're going to draw the toes in circles, circles with the toes of the right foot. And I'm going to make these circles as big as I possibly can. So I'm kind of thinking it's coming from the ankle, but actually, I don't know if you can see there's movement up to the knee, and sometimes even some movement up into the hip, through the bones of the legs, one way and the other. And with this, as soon as we come to these circling movements, we can sort of think that there's a way of find a way, putting the breath with these big slow movements. Maybe you do a whole breath with each circle. It might be a bit slow, so you might do an in-breath with one circle, which is the right foot down there. And you might do an out-breath with the next circle. We'll see. As I'm I'm started on the left now. As I'm nattering away, I haven't particularly put a specific breath with this one. Always making these one way and then the other. And if you're working with specific counts, you have to find a way of calculating how many to do in each direction. So there are little extras that you put into this sequence, extra bits of decision making. Bring the leg down. So I think the sunshine and the rest of me in shade. Working in my yoga studio in the village of Burwell where I live. And I don't know if you can hear, but there is some building work going on outside my window here. So I hope that's not coming across too loudly or strangely, as some sometimes do on Zoom. So we've brought that left foot down. I'm going to relax again. And then what I'm going to do as we go into the knee movement is leave the left leg lying over the pillows and bring the right leg into me and hold behind the back of the knee, or the back of the thigh on the right. Now, if that's not possible for you, you can use some kind of belt, like people do yoga belt, obviously, or a dressing gown belt, something like that, to connect with the back of the leg. And then breathing in, I'm going to straighten that leg up to the ceiling, and breathing out, bend it and squeeze it back down. So I'm making these movements as big as I can on each particular day. If this is at all difficult for you, if there's any discomfort in the knee, for instance, you can hold the knee with both hands as it makes the movement, and you might go less far with the movement both ways. Okay, I'm just going to stop there. Bring that leg back and switch. Over to the left, bending and straightening. Now I have arthritic change in my left knee, and sometimes it catches in this movement, and then it's really great to do the extra support with the second hand. Today looks pretty good. So I'm breathing in and straightening, breathing out and bending. And I'm making these movements as big as I can. So if I bend the left leg just to relax, it goes that far. And then if I squeeze the muscles in, it just comes that little bit further. And I really enjoy that activation. So that's activated, breathing, and that's relaxed. So I think it's good to do not just a drop of the lower leg, but that little extra squeeze. And then bring the left leg back to the bolster again. In the sitting sequence, there's another knee movement here, but I find that doesn't work so well lying. So we're going to move on to the hip movements now. So we want a feeling of taking the knee from side to side in order to get the movement, hit the ball and socket joint of the hip. And this is the way that I do this. There are other ways. This is what I'm going to do, and I like this one best. So I'm going to bring the foot, the right foot, to the top of the bolster or cushion, cushions. And then I'm going to let the right knee drop out to the right, breathing one way, knee come up to the middle, and drop across. So it's going across the center. And sometimes for me, then the foot slides from side to side. So the right foot might slide out more to the right, and I take the knee to the left. The right foot might slide more to the center as I take the knee to the right. Lots of people don't do that. Lots of people, they find the foot just stands in place. And it varies a little bit for me from day to day, and depending what kind of support I've got under the knee, for instance. Here, I'm never sure which way the breath is going to go. Anyway, in breath one way, out breath the other. So I'm going to stop and switch now. little rest to see how that's going. There'll be some movement in the pelvis with that as well, which can be rather nice and soothing. I set myself up slightly too near my bolsters, so I'm not getting the full drop to the side that I would normally be looking for. We're very much working with gravity with this one. You see there is a muscular movement, but then once the knee is sort of let go, gravity is helping with that range of motion. So I've recorded this lying sequence twice, and in the other recording, there's not this huge amount of instruction, and it'll go by a little quicker. And you can concentrate more on how you feel, because you're not getting my voice all the time like you do with this one. The last movement in the lower body part of this is the circle at the hip. So we're trying to make a circle at the ball and socket of the hip by bringing the knee, the right knee, onto the chest, hand on the knee, and then making a circle. So the lower leg just stays very relaxed as you make this circle. You could use both hands, that was going to be better for you. Any of these movements, this is the biggest movement by far that we've come to, but any of these movements that don't feel as if they're right today, just please leave them out or make variations that work for you. You can make the movement much smaller, or perhaps best of all, you can leave that movement that you have any doubts about, and you can visualize it, feel it in your body as best you can while I'm talking about it. So we're circling the knee in order to make a ball and socket circle at the hip. And I've changed direction several times. I'm going to bring that down now. If I were more organized, I might work out that it's 3 in one direction and then 3 in the other. I've swapped sides now to the left. But especially when I'm talking, I'm not good at counting. So it's fine if it's approximate. I quite often get a click at my hip here. And if you've got any worries at all about that, find out about that in your own body, or stay away from the click. It's very normal to have a hip click or point. Very, very common. And I can stay away from mine by making a smaller movement. I've been told that it's not an issue. It's not a problem. But I'm happy with the click anyway. I think I'm going to stop now. And we're going to have a good rest in between the lower body and the upper body. So you rest, make yourself comfortable. And I've got to say earlier, I couldn't hear my ankle joints or knee joints today, but very often our joints are noisy, and it's just absolutely nothing to worry about, and unless you, of course, if it's associated with pain and discomfort, then find out what it is, find out if it's okay for you to carry on with these movements. But bodies just do tend to be noisy. No problem if yours isn't, but if it is, nothing to worry about. Noises like Velcro, noises like paper, clicks, crunches, all fine usually, and rather lovely. Oh, now, I almost always do the upper body ones, both sides together. If I had lots of time, I would do them one at a time. And, maybe once a term I'll teach them that way. But we tend to do them both together. When we're doing this sequence lying, we love this restful variation of leaving the elbows on the ground and lifting the lower arms up so they're just above the elbows on the floor. And then the first one of these is breathing in and stretching the fingers, breathing out and squeezing them. Or if you're doing it a bit more gently, you could say breathing in and lengthening, breathing out and curling. And you want to, half the time, have your thumbs being squeezed by the hands, and half the time, have the thumbs wrapping around the fingers. Again, I do this as firmly as I possibly can and make the movements big, but you absolutely don't have to. I'm going to do one more and stop. Little rest. The next is something you definitely can't do in the lower body, in the toes, and that is flicking the fingers. So we put each finger under its thumb, go up and down the hands, flicking them out. It's quite likely to be more challenging on your non-dominant side. And then there's a variation where we put the thumbs under the fingers and flick the thumbs out from under the fingers. Rest again. And remember, each time you come to rest, letting the body sink back a little bit. So we're working up to the wrists now. All of these are the same. The lower arms are coming up above the elbows, elbows resting on the floor. Going to go back and forward at the wrist. One breath in, one movement, one way on the breath in, the other way on the breath out. And they could go in the same direction, or they could paddle and go in opposite directions. And I'm making these movements as big as I can. You could be softer with them. That feels more appropriate to you. Try and get as far as I can using the muscles in each direction. And then the next, as you can imagine, is making circles at the wrist. Well, it's imagining really that the circles at the wrist are at the wrist, because a huge amount of this is coming from the lower arm bones that are moving from the elbow. One direction and the other. Could be a way to put the breath with this, might not. And then resting. Okay, now, so finally, the hands, in my case, going to come off the body. And remember, yours could have been resting on the floor the whole time. We've got them hands on the floor now. And then breathing out, we're going to bring the fingertips towards the shoulders. Breathing in, straightening the elbows again. So bending and straightening the elbows. Breathing out, bringing the backs of the hands towards the shoulders. Breathing in, hands to the floor. So it's alternating the backs of the hands and the palms of the hands. It's bathed in sunshine again. Unfortunately, it's not actually especially warm sunshine. Okay, one more. And remember, if you find your breath is going the other way than what I've suggested at any time, that's no problem at all. This is one of my favourites. Again, I might find that the bolsters are in the way I put my mats here. We have the elbows on the floor still. Raise the lower arms and then make circles with the hands in order to get an idea that we're circling at the elbow. But actually, a huge amount of that is happening in the shoulder. And bring your attention to your shoulder and see what's happening, shoulders, see what's happening there. And then there may be something happening at the wrists as well. It depends how you work with this. You may find that the hands are just staying, quite firmly in line with the arms, or it may be that you get a sort of elegant swirl of the wrists at the same time. Both directions. And then arming to rest. This is one I find sometimes a little bit challenging on the floor. So we're coming up to the shoulders now. Hands resting on the floor. I've got my palms down, whatever works best for you. And then breathing in, so hands by the sides, breathing in. The shoulders travel up along the floor and the hands travel along the floor. Shoulders come as near to the ears as you can get them. And breathing out, hands slide back along the ground. And do one more of these. And then fingertips to the shoulders. Oh, well, a little rest first, I guess. Then speed up when I see that we're getting towards the end. Fingertips to the shoulders. And then we make big circles with the elbows. And particularly taught me this, Julie Friedeberger would kind of push her arms right into the floor. So she's kind of working against the floor, or working with the floor to get quite a big strength movement almost going there. Go the other way now. That never quite works for me. And to be honest, I'm wearing a lovely cardigan. I don't want it to bobble. Ridiculous. Both ways. Again, there might be a way to put the breath with these movements. And then come to a rest. So that is the end of this joint movement sequence. This is involving the appendicular joint. So there's the axis of the skeleton, there's the axis of the spine, and then these are like the appendices, the bits that hang off the spine. And so that's what we've moved in this sequence. Little bits of spinal movement, but not much, especially when we did this lying down. You could stay lying here for a little bit longer. I'm going to come up to sitting just to talk about one more thing. So I don't love the shoulder movement on the floor. And I do love the shoulder movement in a chair. But when I've done this on the floor, sometimes I will then sit up just on the floor and add in one more go at the shoulder movement, breathing in and lifting, and then breathing out. You've got the weight of the arms to help that shoulder movement. Oh, and I just love that. And equally, I enjoy the circle movement. Sitting, because then you've got this part where the elbows can go back. One way and the other. Oh. Ah. I don't know about you. I hope if you stuck with this that you're feeling good. I'm certainly feeling a lot better than I was. This sequence is great for any kind of recovery, but also just as a support, even in our time, even in times when we have no particular need of recovery. It keeps us moving. It's good for circulation. It has these little strength elements. It's great for mobilizing these extra bits of the spine. Well, thank you. This is the sixth day that I'm thinking about the blood clots in my lungs, and I hope that you've enjoyed working with me and that the giving out of my voice every now and then when I make these long sentences hasn't been too much problem for you. Thank you so much. Find my mouse, turn off the recording, and hope to see you soon.